Or like for myself, I had many difficulties in my life. And if we talk about them in brief, when I was in Tibet, until I was 7, I was in my homeland. And I think these are the happiest days of my life because I had no responsibility. And I was with my parents. My home was a really beautiful place. So when you think about it internally and externally, it was the happiest time of my life was the time up to the age of 7. And then from the age of 7, they said that I was recognized as being the Karmapa. They said I'm the Karmapa. And some people think that when you say the Karmapa, that becoming the Karmapa, from a perspective, it's a very high position. And you get all the food and clothing that you want. This is what people think.
호랑이 쌈배기 된다 가리에 위냐 대다 탐시 애네 샤비 공거티즈기
And people think that as soon as he tells people to do something what they want to do, the attendants will immediately do it. It's really not like that, actually. Before I arrived at Supa Monastery, it was decided as a Karmapa. Before it had been decided as a Karmapa, but before I was Bhattacurpa, there was the steward or Changze, and he said to another person, several people said to this man, what he said was, "Is Karmapa or not, whoever he is, it doesn't matter. So I'm not going to get him with it. I'm not going to let it get above my neck." So I said, as he said, in the practice, he did it that way when I was young. When someone would make an offering, the offerings are given to the Karmapa. It's given because of the title Karmapa, right? So they offered it, and people would look and they say that I'd gotten it. They think that I would then take care of it. But what happened? But they offered it, but the person who took it was someone who's behind me. For example, there are some people I know from Taiwan, and they knew me. What they would say was, when I had not taught them, they would be sitting in front of me. They would secretly, they would put an envelope underneath my carpet. This is for you. This is to give to your parents, right? And they put the envelope under my thing. The reason was that if they understood that no matter how much offerings, no matter how much money, that the steward was going to take it all. They understood that. So they did it secretly. They would give to me secretly. They would give it, but sometimes it didn't work out, and he'd learn about them and take them. And because after I was done, and I had to go to the puja. We go to the puja. The stewards everything would go look and see what was underneath the table, what was underneath the carpet. They'd pull the tortoise and see if anything's put in between. So what they'd say is to me is, we're taking them down to make sure that to see whether there's any poison on them, and so that's why we take them down. And after that, but once they took them down, they never bring them back. One time, Power Rinpoche, they asked me, please recognize the reincarnation of Power Rinpoche. There was a Lama who was the director of Ninana Monastery. He gave me a golden Buddha with a Serdin necklace. It was a statue Buddha that's of that size, and he gave it to me. So he gave it to me. So when the Lama came back, and he said, So Changzi, the Changzi steward is wearing that statue I gave to you yesterday. And then even more than that, the steward said, "Hey, look at this! Isn't it beautiful? Does it look good?" When he said that, he said, in his inside him fire was when he said, "I gave." I thought to myself, I offered to the Karmapa, why are you wearing it? But I couldn't say anything. He said. And not only that. So the custom had before then had been so that when the parents had raised me from being a child, and then at the point when I was taken up, then then when I was taken from, then the tradition was so that the Trupuladang would build them a house or something. But forget about even building a house. One day, when the Tsupa monastery they would come, they wouldn't allow them to come even more than once a day. The Tsupa monastery they would think, and they didn't even dare come because they thought that the steward and the old lamas would be annoyed when they were being friends from Kam and acquaintance. They would make things. Oh, they're bringing all sorts of people. I have many sisters, but among them, there's one of the two. But a couple of them were in retreat at Tsupa, and they would come to see me, and they say, "You're not allowed to meet them. With your father and mother, it's nothing. You're not allowed to eat your mother who doesn't." So many different such situations. So there are many different problems. In the end, finally, my father and mother are very modest, and they didn't have any pride of thinking, "Oh, I'm the Karmapa's parents." But they came to the end. They just got to the end of their ropes, and my father and my father's friend came to me, and they said, "You have to speak to the Supalada, otherwise you can't just continue on like this." And so my father went to speak to the Supalada, and that friend who came to this, he was actually very forthright. He said, "The Supalada." He said, if we weren't right in front of the Karmapa, I'd just take care of them right away. So my father went down, he spoke to the Supalatang. I said, we're the parents. It's not saying we need a lot of great offerings. It's not like we need a lot of presents. We just like to be able to see our child when we want to. And like it be so that his siblings can meet him. If we don't like that, then I'm going to take my son with me and go. And then they got a little bit afraid. And so they got scared, and they said, and so when the children were going, they gave them all sorts of new clothes and everything and sent it down. And so there are many situations like that. So there are those situations, but from at the time I was young. So at that time I was 7 years old, right? So I was kind of under control. So I didn't dare say anything to him. But one time, what happened? For some reason, I did say a couple of things. And the son got really, and he took me two hands, and he grabbed my two hands with a really strong. It's really something that you're so little, but you're taking that, and he took and squeezed them really hard. And I started to cry. So that's when I was in Tibet. And then when I got to India, I was many, even worse than that. So I'm not going to speak about them for the moment. So because when people think the Karmapa, it must be a really good life. So it has a lot of freedom. And everyone's going to listen to and do what he says. But it's not like that. It's not even like that now. It wasn't like that in the past either. In particular, in the time of Mikhe Dorje, when he was young, first was the dispute over whether he was the Karmapa or not. And the people who had supported the Western Tulku often tried to do what they can to get around the Karmapa. And that's sort of not only do you have to live in that environment, but he also had to do the activity of a Karmapa, and that was not at all easy. Now, when we read his text, it seems like really easy. But if you put yourself in that situation and think about it, it's not easy, is it? And so for that reason, what we need to think is, Mikhe Dorje is probably an emanation of a Buddha and a Bodhisattva. He probably had knowledge and understanding, but we can't really know that. But in terms of a human being, he had a lot of difficulties. But what did he do for the benefit of teachings and beings? And that's why we should think of him so important. We need to identify that really clearly, I think. If we are able to do that, then only at that point will we ourselves and be able to get some real confidence in this lifetime, and feel some confidence that we can do something on the behalf of the teachings and beings. So I don't have a lot more to say. Now we will recite the closing prayers.